Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Money Mike, and today we will be discussing the main event of AEW All Out. As we know, tonight on AEW Dynamite is the merger between interim world champion, Jon Moxley. Please do not come beat me up. I know you hate that term. I do too. Believe me, there's a lot of fans that hate that term, interim world champion. I talked about this in a previous video, so go ahead and check that out. The whole idea around an interim world champion never made any sense to me. Um, you know, AEW doesn't do pay-per-views every month, so there really was no need. Unless CM Punk was actually going to be out for like a whole year, maybe okay, you do need to crown a new world champion. But again, Tony Khan, he loves that interim tag. So here we are. CM Punk made his return, and now the stage is set for tonight to unify the AEW World titles between CM Punk and Jon Moxley. Now, a lot of people assumed that it would be the main event for AEW All Out. CM Punk, Jon Moxley, AEW All Out Chicago, and CM Punk. I'm assuming CM Punk is going to be the winner tonight on Dynamite, and he'll move on to, well, let's move into the second part of the title in this video, because I think we all kind of assumed that the main event would be CM Punk versus Jon Moxley at All Out to unify the titles and to determine the real AEW World Champion. But I think we all kind of forgot about MJF. Or did we not? Perhaps it's been in the back of our minds, but the question that I have, and as I said, the second part of this title, and I think this plays into why we're doing the title unification match tonight on Dynamite. Even though I agree with a lot of people that this should have been the main event for All Out. This should be a pay-per-view. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that AEW gives away too many big matches on TV, and I know they don't have a lot of pay-per-views, so they have to do that, but it's just one of those things where if you're going to have two world champions or unifying them, do it on a pay-per-view. You're not going to have Roman Reigns lose the titles or one of the titles, and I'll get into that video on Friday morning before SmackDown. So subscribe for that, and for more wrestling videos and content here on this channel coming up, and also some NFL news as well as we get closer to the NFL season. So, like I said, it would be like having Roman Reigns defend his titles on Raw or SmackDown, which is fine. He's done that before. He faced Riddle. That's fine. But it would be like if the title, it would be like having Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar face off on Raw or SmackDown to unify the titles instead of WrestleMania. So if All Out is AEW's WrestleMania, then this should be the main event of All Out, right? Punk, Moxley, unify the titles. So that begs the question, if it's going to happen tonight, what's the main event of All Out? And that's where MJF comes in. So, as we know, MJF has not been heard, seen, or mentioned ever since his pipe bomb, where he told Tony Khan that he's a effing mark and he should fire him. And there was this whole big thing where he didn't show up to his autograph signing at AEW Double or Nothing. There was all this big confusion and yada yada yada. So he did the pipe bomb, and we haven't heard or seen MJF since. Now let's turn back the clock, right? 2011, CM Punk, he does his infamous pipe bomb. WWE, they have him they build this up to where CM Punk gets a title match. CM Punk gets a title match against John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011. He says, I want to leave the company with the WWE Championship. And he does. He beats John Cena. You know, there was no Super Cena heroics that a lot of fans were scared was going to happen. But CM Punk won. He walked out with the WWE Championship. And then he came back a week later. And fans criticized WWE for not capitalizing on that and doing more and keeping CM Punk out longer, and build it into a big storyline, long-term storyline. And there could have been so much more with that, and WWE left a lot on the table when it came to CM Punk walking out with the WWE Championship. And and here in this case, I think AEW with MJF, it's obviously a replica. They're replicating the summer of Punk, but they are not. They're kind of ignoring it. Like, I think it's clear tonight on Dynamite, MJF is going to confront the winner, which obviously is going to be CM Punk, to continue their feud, and MJF is going to be the one to walk away the champion and have his first run as AEW World Champion at All Out. But the problem here is that while we criticize WWE for doing so little when they had so much potential with CM Punk walking out as WWE Champion and bringing him back only 1 week later, here AEW is kind of dropping the ball because there's no mention, they're not talking about him, and I think that's kind of hurting the storyline because we know he's going to come back. We know, like I said, likely tonight, and we know that this is leading to MJF versus CM Punk or Jon Moxley at All Out. So the question here is, when there's no mention of it, you don't have commentary following up with it, you have nothing. And you have all this thing where it's like, oh, MJF you can't mention him or whatever. They're ignoring the storyline, and I think to me is that AEW, in a way where we criticize WWE for failing to see the long-term potential with the CM Punk storyline 2011, AEW should be criticized for not doing enough in the short term to build to his return and just not even mentioning it. And so it makes just wonder, like, okay, obviously MJF's coming back, but again, you're not mentioning it, you're not building to it. And I get it, you want to have that shock of him showing up, like, presumably tonight, to set up the main event of All Out. But again, because they're doing so little, what if MJF doesn't show up tonight? What if this whole ordeal that we were reading last week, where CM Punk came out and he called out Hangman Adam Page unscripted, and he went off script, and as the old WCW commercial once said, CM Punk did not follow. CM Punk broke the script, or whatever it was that it said. The point here is, let's say MJF doesn't show up tonight. Let's say MJF doesn't show up. AEW fails to continues to fail to capitalize on the MJF pipe bomb. And maybe this whole thing where CM Punk called out Hangman Adam Page, and this whole thing where there's heat, supposed heat on CM Punk, and there's heat between Hangman Adam Page and CM Punk, is a setup to set up the rematch at All Out between Punk and Hangman. Or do we get a triple threat? Hangman Adam Page, Jon Moxley, and CM Punk. So, again, let's figure this out. What is likely going to be in the main event of All Out if you don't have MJF? Because it's quite clear to me, if you're doing the title unification tonight, that you have something else big, that Tony Khan and AEW have something else bigger planned for All Out. And you have to have something bigger if you're giving away your title unification, world title unification, by the way. Let's remember that. This isn't the TNT world, title unification like we got with Cody and Sammy Guevara. This is your AEW world title unification. Like I get it. Like I said in my previous video about this, there was no need to have an interim world champion. You could have built Jon Moxley up to be the one to face CM Punk at All Out. It's kind of interesting to me that they're doing the title unification match tonight on Dynamite, which does lead me to believe MJF is coming back tonight to confront the winner of the match. And like I said, as much as I would like to see Jon Moxley get the win over CM Punk, I think it's because I think Jon Moxley, he did so much as AEW World Champion to carry AEW through the pandemic. I think he deserves a run in front of the fans. And I think it's clear CM Punk is winning, but who does he face it All Out? Is it MJF? Hangman Adam Page? Do we get a triple threat? Do we get another match with Moxley? Do we add Hangman Adam Page? Perhaps Chris Jericho? We revisit that in AEW. So it is kind of interesting here where does AEW go with this main event? Because here we are, title unification tonight. Does MJF show up? Are we getting a CM Punk MJF for the AEW World Title at All Out in Chicago in a couple of weeks? Or is it going to be some shenanigans involved that leads it to be a no contest, to lead to a rematch? Is Hangman Adam Page going to get involved? Is all this stuff about the heat between Punk and Hangman just a story to get the dirt sheets riled up to lead to something at the pay-per-view? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be back here on Friday, and I will talk why I think Drew McIntyre should only win one of the championships from Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle. I've been your host, Money Mike. Subscribe for more wrestling content right here on this channel, and my NFL videos will be beginning soon. So, until next time, let's enjoy the main event tonight, see what happens, and I'll be here Friday, talk about it, and talk about Clash at the Castle.